Alright, hello and welcome back to another battle replay in Empire Extended. What a lovely day for a battle. Those nice blue skies, the sun high in the sky. I myself am ready. I've got the Victoria 2 soundtrack playing for those Paradox fans out there to celebrate Victoria 3 being announced. I've got my coffee in one hand and I've got a bottle of water in the other to stay hydrated because the coffee dehydrates me and I need hydration for the talking part of this, recording. And we have an epic battle replay going on. This is the Prussian army commanded by Gustav with numbers. Opposing the Russians is Great Britain, commanded by yours truly, the Siberian. There's a little glimpse of a cavalry force. We are on the map Bavaria. And yeah, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and dive into this. Let's look at Gustav's layout of armed forces real quick. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 militia holding the front line, supported by, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 units of howitzers. His general, a colonial light infantry, supported by 2 line infantries in this small forest right here. Another light infantry on top of the hill, supported by 2 line infantries hidden in the woods, as well as a regiment of horse. 2 more line infantry on his left flank, and 2 regiments of horse on the extreme left to screen his left flank. This is a good setup. He's got a lot of bodies on the field, I guess. Look at with all these militia, which are fairly cheap. And I rush forward, some cav. The British cav going for a scout manages to avoid, most of them manage to avoid the artillery. 2, however, unfortunate horses and their riders are killed in the barrage before they withdraw. Now this battle has a bit of a slow start, so now's a good time to grab a drink, grab a snack, whatever you need to sit through it, because it's a good one. It's worth it. It becomes very, very bloody and brutal. I don't know what he's shooting at over there. That might have been a misclick. Or maybe he was worried I had something hidden. Probably not, actually. I think it was a misclick. Yeah, there's a lot of really tactical thinking going on in this one. A lot of good fun. I had a great time. I hope Gustav did as well. Look at those generals. There is the Siberian himself. So far, we are awaiting the British assault, which should be coming towards this position, as this side of the map is generally the more defensible side. The only time I might argue that that's not the case is when you're on this half of the map. You can defend this hilled area fairly well, but in general, this side of the map defends. So we'll take a bird's eye look at the formations. So got some scouting militia, still got some more militia protecting the howitzers. Now he's put up stakes to protect the infantry in the woods. Stakes all over the place, making cav very dangerous. And that's a good move because I'm usually at my best when I sneak a cav charge in. I'd say as far as my tactics go, I usually commit to a flank They're not always. And I don't do anything crazy with my infantry, and I wait for an opportunity to exploit something with my cav. He's moving his general around the stakes here. But yeah, that's generally how I go, and here we have the first glimpse of the British line of light infantry moving forward, stopping, gonna get hit by some artillery right in the center. Oh, and there's also another British cav unit on this extreme flank. The Prussian left flank is now spotted a small cav unit, while the light infantry is advancing in the center. We'll follow the Prussian charge. Ambush springing from the woods. And the British are still unaware as the hordes of Prussian cav come streaming out of the woods. And the British take a lot of losses in that initial charge. They do manage to fight back a bit, but they're definitely losing this combat. They're down to wavering with 75 men. And there they go. The British cavalry has broken and flees for safety, but is shattered. It's not able to flee completely. And really, the Prussian cav did not take that many casualties. Over on this flank, we have now 2 units of light infantry visible, and they were taking pot shots at the Prussian militia, which wisely withdraws beyond the crest of the ridge, allowing the Prussian artillery to wreak havoc with the British line. However, the British are still being aggressive, pushing forward their light infantry, and 2 more units of British cav appeared from further down the slope and chase off the Prussians, who withdraw without offering a fight. But now a 3rd Prussian cavalry unit is coming to support, and some Prussian line infantry is shifting to protect this flank. This light infantry is not able to find any targets to fire on, and so withdraws to the safety of the forest. Meanwhile, there is another turn of events where a British yeomanry, this is like a provincial unit, but it's slightly better than most provincial units. This is a difficult charge up a hill against infantry fire. They did fire immediately, which means they're not effective at that max range as they could have been if they held fire a little bit. But the British wedge slashes into the Prussian infantry. And so this is a little textbook illustration, if you will, of what that wedge formation is good for. Splitting a unit in half like that, where you cut out the center, actually decreases the morale of the whole unit. So what you can do with that knowledge is, if you're the infantry, a tighter block, if you see cavalry in the area, is harder to split, and therefore won't suffer as much of a morale penalty. And because so many units fire in the unit, or so many soldiers fire in the unit, it's still worthwhile. You still get decent firepower from that. Now we have some light infantry once again taking their shots at these militia on the ridge. Only suffered 4, that's not bad. But now a British line is marching. Beautiful. There's the Union Jack. And over on this extreme flank, 2 regiments of cav were visible. One has hidden, but the other is still visible. And this cav goes for a full charge against the cannoneers of these howitzers, but is unable to withstand the fire from the line infantry behind the stakes and breaks off the map. And that is the only issue with protecting cannons with militia, as they are also vulnerable to cav. And so the probably the largest engagement so far, other than the cavalry engagement on this left flank, has begun. There is this small but intense fight, but we have more of an infantry fight going on. These militia have been flanked by the British lines, but now the British lines is being flanked in turn. And the howitzers are firing solid shot into the light infantry. That flanking action forced the withdrawal of this line infantry. Oh yes, and there we can spot both cavalry units of the British threatening the flank, and Prussia has reacted wisely, with his own cav supported by 2 units of line infantry. And now the British are pulling back. This line, light infantry, has blended in with the trees. The Prussians are advancing to confront the enemy, wherever he may be. I'm actually going to zoom in on the map here and take a look at the Prussian forces. So they're actually quite dispersed, with concentration of cavalry right here, 3 units, and then a decent smattering of units around the artillery. That's actually not a bad system when you don't know where the enemy is, because you are covering all your bases, and once you discover the main body of the enemy, all your units can then converge on that point. But yet each unit or each contingent is still strong enough to be able to defend for a while on its own. So I like that layout of forces. Zoom back out. And now the British general is moving forward to support his troops. Bravo. That one went very short. This militia has now taken 20 losses. That's no insignificant amount, but it's not terrible either. And these are fresh line infantries. So far it's been mostly probing, with a small cavalry charge against militia here that turned out for the British, in the British favor. Almost took out the artillery, but was held off at the last minute. And then on the opposite flank, a cavalry engagement that went heavily for the Prussians, but the Prussians had to retire from the field. And now the first hints of line infantry of the British have appeared on the Prussian left flank. I think this was an unexpected development, as now the light infantries and the line infantries are pulling back and reconsolidating towards this new threat that is appearing on the Prussian left flank. And so as the British commander, what I did was have 2 light infantry and a line infantry to present a threat to the front, to the fore of the army, hoping to draw reinforcements that way. And then I sent my cavalry well in advance of my infantry in order to screen them so he wouldn't have any idea there was infantry here until the last minute. And that really did work pretty well. As we'll see, there's a bit of a delay in my attack. My troops are very tired, so part of the delay was to let them rest. However, part of the delay was pathfinding issues, which I'll get into once they are happening. But anyways, I didn't want to completely let off pressure on this primary front, as that would allow all his resources to confront the new threat. So I continued to advance these troops. The British are pushing forward once again on this flank. The British left kind of the Prussian center, as the Prussian right is these units over here. And all the while, just taking artillery fire. I think our constant stopping and starting has helped avoid some of the hits, as these have only lost 2 troops. Not bad at all. And the Prussian militia fires too early and hits just the edge of the hill. And now the light infantry can fire their volley. Oh, but I had them set on skirmish mode, so they start to fall back. And so too do the militia, who decide to break for the rear, unsure if they can take on these light infantries. Meanwhile, on this flank, it is apparent that there's still an infantry threat, but no idea how great it is at this point. And now the light infantry open fire. That cannonball almost hit the camera. I don't know how much they're hitting, as there's this hill in the way. Perhaps these ones will have a better angle. They're firing up at this unit instead of this one. Interesting. The British line has now taken another hit, it looks like. Back here, it's now lost 7. Still not terrible losses though. And now the British lines are appearing on this flank, advancing bit by bit. And here is the pathfinding issue. This is why it took so long. My artillery, I had a large amount of artillery that I had carted all the way around here, up this hill to here. And while crossing this terrain, their pathfinding got all messed up. And they would not unlimber, they wouldn't travel as a group, it was just a mess. So I ended up only being able to use half my artillery for half this, or like 3/4 of my artillery for a good portion of this early fight. But Prussia has responded very well and has a solid line stretching through the woods, supported by cav, all the way across this front, and is now advancing. Light infantry taking heavy artillery fire, same with the line infantry. Now it's taken 25 casualties. The British line fires a volley. So, for example, this unit right here, with how thin and stretched out it is very vulnerable to a cav and wedge formation because it can be split easily, but it's less vulnerable to artillery. So that's the balance you have to weigh. And here, let's see, no action on that front yet. So the main front is right here. The Prussians advancing through the smoke. Epic. It's just so beautiful, you know? Not that warfare is beautiful, but animated warfare can be. The smoke drifting lazily. Still trying to figure out my artillery issues here. So I had a whole nother howitzer unit that wouldn't deploy. I decided to just go with these ones, targeting cavalry. I want to eliminate his local advantage, which is by far cavalry. And so I withdrew these guys as their protection. This line infantry was forced to retreat. And now you're getting a hint at the mess of my artillery. Look at this. Ah, oh, so irritating. But anyways, we'll follow the cavalry. Prussians ordered a great charge towards this isolated line infantry. If they're able to break this unit, this light infantry is very vulnerable, and all of these units can then swing towards my flanking force. And I recognized that, and I sent all my artillery to fire upon these cavalry units. Even though I knew it would give me some friendly fire, I knew I had to eliminate this cavalry quickly. And overall, though we have lost over 200 soldiers, just barely over, and the line infantry breaks, the Prussian cavalry also breaks or even shatters. And yeah, that's a lot of cavalry bodies. And now the Prussians are advancing, perhaps take out some of this artillery. Though, see, like, these three were fine, but this one wouldn't move up no matter how many times I redid it, and this one wouldn't unlimber. And so the British are now taking the hill, and I have them holding fire. Fire a good volley down. Let's see. Let's watch the volley. Not a great one. Only three kills. Not 4 now. Get some good artillery hits though. And that's where this unit wouldn't be vulnerable to cav because it's so thick, but it is very vulnerable to artillery. And I have a lot of artillery. Look at this. These British are about to be volleyed into from the flank. Maybe they shot the artillery, I don't know. No, now they're shooting them. You can see a great number of British line infantry dropping right there. Vulnerable flank. The British go for a charge. They're fresh against light infantry. I thought I had this charge in the bag. Now only active, but wisely the Prussians bring up reinforcements. And the light infantry that we did catch is now defending itself fairly well, as these guys are getting shot and distracted, and my units break. And so the British line was not able to hold there, and so I sent forward to reserve. I finally am getting these units into position. We missed a bit of a cav charge here. But this is where the action is happening. Look at all the bodies carpeting the ground. Firefight on this little hill, still going strong. It's pretty close overall. Over here, artillery is just wreaking havoc on the Prussian forces. Oh, Absolutely awful. And now I have artillery set up with canister shot. It's a little bit out of range, or maybe not. It's right at max range, so it doesn't always work. A volley into the cannon crews starts to give some, starts to kill a few of them. But a couple good canister shots can break this unit. Advancing now. They can't handle the pressure. Begin to fall back. And that unit also breaks under heavy artillery fire. Light infantry, not sure exactly what it's doing. Holding its fire. And now these two light infantries side by side are unprotected. Do get a good volley off, but the British cavalry is now in amongst them. And even though they're thicker units, light infantry is no match for mounted cavalrymen. And this infantry breaks. The British cav does break, perhaps taking too many casualties from surrounding fire. Oof. And an attempted charge here is taking lots of losses to artillery. And cannot commit. And now even in their retreat are being hammered. And just look at the bodies littering the floor or the ground. Now the light infantry are opening fire. Meanwhile on this front, I still kept some slight pressure up on the enemy just to keep them from being able to throw all their forces at this one spot. This is a vicious, dense little fight over here. We've lost about 11 troops. This one, however, has taken much more serious casualties, losing almost 40, 36. However, the Prussians, with the disadvantage of being lower down on the slope, are definitely taking the worst of it. Also, they've been hit by a few artillery rounds. This light infantry is able to tear up this line infantry pretty badly at first, but with the artillery coming in, it is not able to hold. And so when this light infantry breaks, the Prussian lines begin to fall back to the safety of their hill with the stakes in the forest. And now the remnants of the British cav do a flanking charge on this Prussian militia and light infantry and line infantry. Routing the militia, the line and light infantry are still fine, steady. Wavering now. And now they break, and so the cavalry is able to harass them, try and keep them breaking all the way to the edge of the map. And now the British have taken this small battlefield and prepare for their assault on the final hill. Meanwhile, I was getting ready to try and strike at this artillery with my artillery. I eventually call off my regiment of horse, as I was not confident that they would be able to take out the howitzer crews, and I thought he might have units hidden up here in the forest, which he did at the start, which shot my cav that came here. So I didn't want my last cav unit to die already. Wanted to save them as a strategic reserve. So I moved them off. The chain route did rout his howitzers. However, they quickly recovered, along with some light infantry and line infantry. Let's take a look at the battlefield, and the artillery is now moving forward. Finally got it to line up correctly. So, Prussians still have a very solid defense on this hill with a light infantry and 1 line, 2 line, 3 line infantries. Although some of them are quite depleted. They have this light infantry on top of the hill, the line infantry that might recover, and then another line and light infantry on this flank. And even some militia. That's a very respectable force. Still surviving, still hidden behind these stakes on the hill. And so I decide to let my troops rest up. And I can't see any of these units, they're all hidden. But I order them to fire into the woods as I figure his defensive line will take place somewhere in here. And the artillery is just shelling the ridge. Meanwhile, my 12 pounders are targeting his howitzers, hoping I can knock out some of them without having to take undue casualties due to their explosive or carcass shot. We go with some more explosive shot. Some of these shots end up landing and causing a lot of damage. That one, that was just straight. Yeah, just a brutal little, it wasn't a huge fight, but just very brutal in a very small area. Alright, here we go. That one's a little overshot. I honestly had no idea if his troops were even here. But I figured if I cover this hill with enough hits, I'll get some kills. And eventually I do. We'll see it here. I missed it in real life because I was focusing on shooting his howitzers with my light infantry. Not in real life, in actual time. Alright, this one? No, that's too far. Far. No. No. Did that hit anything? Does not look like it. Oh, this one did. Look at that. That concussive wave made them all shift too. Not a direct hit, but not bad. And that also, I can see the corpses from hits, so that lets me target a little bit better. I gotta drink some water. Here we go. Smack the lips. Yeah, this game, I hope that whenever CA makes, ooh, that was a good little hit. Whenever CA makes... Oh, there was a great one. Sorry. Whenever CA makes Empire 2, I hope it's a really good... I hope they do well, you know? Don't half-ass it, CA. Oh. Look at that guy. Booking it. I don't know what that is. It's a strange little bug. He just turned into a Prussian. Nope, he just died. Just laid down. Close. Now the British lines are advancing under cover of the artillery fire. There's one last regiment of horse there remaining. Ooh. That was a brutal hit. Right before they could fire, too. Absolutely devastating. Meanwhile, the British taking a few losses, but marching steadily up the hill. Beautiful. The glorious redcoats forming up for battle, firing, and now I have it set to the fire shot, wiping out both militia and this line infantry. I am primarily focusing, however, on the reserve units that he has back here, as those units double his firepower, and my units are already shooting at the first rank. I'm very impressed with these militia that they didn't immediately retreat, because that's a lot of bodies. I was now hoping to move forward some artillery into gaps in the infantry lines, and the British were gonna fire canister upon the Prussians on the hill. Meanwhile, over here, the line infantry is taking on some light infantry. This is still a close thing. Oh, and this militia finally breaks after a devastating barrage of artillery, and look at the bodies carpeting this hillside. I mean, if we go like slightly under, just look at that. Let's get them all. Sorry, that's not how you're supposed to view it. But then this line infantry reforms, and with the natural gap that was created, look at this. The Prussian cavalry, I had my infantry hold fire. The Prussian cavalry snipes the British artillery, which is already down to 5 units, and breaks, shatters. It does mean, however, that his last unit of cavalry shatters and will not recover. But that was a perfect charge to take out the British artillery. Look at that. However, there's still one more unit over here moving up into position. And the British charge the light infantry. Let's see some good kill animations. Alright, whack him with the musket. Let's see a good move right here. Oh yeah, trap his musket to the ground. Let's see it again. Oh yeah, push. Oh, he tries to whack, but it gets blocked. And now the Prussian lights have withdrawn from the field, or at least pulling back. And all along the front, it appears the British are winning the day. Even unlimbering a cannon by this last line infantry, which does then withdraw. And at this point it seems like, oh, it's over, right? But he still has this line infantry over here, this light infantry over here, and I had moved my cav hoping to get a sneaky charge through this gap and then do something up here, but this light infantry does block that. But the Prussians are falling back and the British are reaching the crest of the hill. Now the British have the heights, and it seems like all hope is lost for Prussia. But the general is bravely by his troops, attempting to rally. I saw his light infantry trying to move, and I thought maybe I can sneak a charge now that they're moving. But he quickly reacted and executed. Look at that. Brutal. Point blank volley. Down to 18 cavalry left who quickly break. And that is the last of the British cav, which means there's just infantry left, and the Prussians have this line, this light, and a few more lines recover actually. Meanwhile, the British have 1, 2, 3, 4 line infantry, 5 line infantry, and an artillery piece or 3. I had 3 British howitzers and 2 artillery pieces at the start. 1 artillery piece got taken out here, so I have 1 12-pounder and 3 howitzers. And the British are marching to take the hill. And the British, hoping to capitalize on the momentum, are charging downhill. I don't know if bayonets, yeah, bayonets are fixed. However, they're very tired, so is the Prussians. 178 to 238. Prussian general is nearby to rally the men to have them fight at their to the last breath. And the general even charges in. And the British have rarely seen such dedication from a general, and withdraw. Meanwhile, the light infantry here, his artillery has come back yet again. And so the Prussians have been able to muster a line infantry, a light infantry, and a line infantry, as well as some artillery to face my 4 line infantries, as well as some artillery. However, I was trying to just move my artillery to the crest of the hill, and if you run into the stakes, it immediately just kills all your artillery. So I wasn't able to, so all my 12-pounders are now dead. So I wasn't sure exactly even how many troops he had left, and I did not want to throw away my advantage by a charge down the hill. I did charge my light infantry in to take out his cannoneers, but his infantry saves it. His artillery is still able to function. The British line is falling back to the heights, to their fellows. Let's just observe the battlefield here, right? So look at all the carnage here. Bunch of cavalry corpses, militia corpses, some artillery hits, it looks like. Or no, that's my troops, must have been shot. Some fighting over here on the outskirts of these hills. Just bodies all throughout from the cavalry charge. And then just a carpet of bodies where the fighting was thickest up here. All the way, moving all the way up the hill Another dense section of Prussian and British bodies, even on top of the hill, and now flowing down this slope. The fighting is not even done yet. Just an absolute bloodbath of a battle, I must say. And now his artillery's still able to function. I was perplexed, and I wasn't able to move my artillery past these stakes. So they have to fire from here, where some of their shots will be blocked by the trees. Most of those shots missed, although that one looked a little bit more successful. Prussians taking to the woods to cement their advantage. My troops are still in pretty good condition. Moving forward. I know with the forest, a long-range shootout will definitely go the Prussian way. Closer range might help a little bit. So that's why I'm moving them forward. Hoping to break their morale with some accurate volleys into their ranks. And these ones are also armed with bayonets. They can't fire back. Artillery mowing down Prussians on this flank. Yeah, even not returning fire and just taking the casualties, these Prussians are still confident, thanks to their general. That's a good general right there, inspiring his troops. I am sending my general to perhaps charge his artillery and just end the nuisance once and for all, and I have this unit that's pretty much healthy in reserve. Just look at this. This is like Vietnam in the 18th century. Just napalm. Oh, and here comes the British charge. I didn't fix bayonets. I think I forgot to do it, which was a mistake. However, his infantry are wavering. Mine are wavering as well. But his cavalry comes in. And once again, cavalry has a big morale effect against infantry. So even though we were winning the combat, this unit breaks. His also breaks, however. But the artillery that is able to come in and screen for my retreat does some devastating impacts on his infantry. His cavalry charges, but I form square as a protective measure, and so it's just his general remaining on the field is bravely charged in, but has now been defeated. And there we go. That's the last of the end of the battle, as my cavalry, my general, comes in to wipe out his artillery. Look at that, all that artillery. I brought a lot of artillery. And the British have taken the field, taken the hill, despite heavy losses on both sides. And there we go. So the Prussians with Gustav brought a lot of troops, 4,280. They lost about half their force, a little bit over half their force. Although looking at enemy killed, it looks like there's a bit of friendly fire. Although I don't, seems like these numbers aren't all that accurate, so I'm not sure. But I think the numbers deployed is very accurate. I brought just under 3,000, so more than half their number, but definitely about 1,400 less troops, so 1,400 less troops. I actually lost what, 900 less troops. So for bringing 14,000 less, I lost 900 less. So I think I think the Prussians actually had a better overall outcome, but I was able to break the morale and take the field. So anyways, here we have some kill numbers. Let's see, what got the most kills? For the Prussians, it was their light infantry followed by line infantry. That howitzer did good work as well, and his cavalry. Overall, a pretty good mix. Some of these units didn't do their best, but that's all right. Anyways, this was an awesome epic battle. I had a great time. And yeah, it makes me excited for future updates where we can get with specific units and whatnot. If you guys like this, check out on my channel. There's a playlist of all my battle replays. They're quite fun to watch. I encourage you to check out the ones you've missed. But without further ado, I will play that cinematic outro. Thanks, Gustav, for playing. It was a lot of fun. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye.